Okay, so we have a pretty big piece to look at today. This one, and I wouldn't say it's a big piece, but it is a lot of changes that are required, and it should be fun. But let's start off with some important announcements, very important announcements. Announcement number 1 is the due date for the Halloween Design Challenge. The Creature Design Challenge is this Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Please make sure you guys are submitting your stuff, okay? Because come November, I'm not taking a look at any leftovers. I will also be critiquing the secret Patreon critique hours, the exclusive Patreon critique hours on our Patreon Discord. So if you want to join as an apprentice, you'll be able to catch both of them. The one for the Halloween challenge and the Harvest one, which is a really amazing one, and I've kind of left it towards the end so that I could do it all as one collective fall themed Halloween bonanza. And it's probably going to be a 2-hour critique hour. And then there is joining on Patreon. You can join as a $1 watcher. If you're enjoying this channel, if you learned something, if everybody joins as a $1 watcher, we can stay independent. We don't have to rely on any kind of marketing or any change in my format or content. If you guys can support, you may join as a watcher. Any higher, you get educational material in exchange, and then you have the apprenticeship where you get everything. For the next community challenge, so go to istebrak.com and click on the Reddit icon join, is the holiday design challenge. So it is really, really cool. It's very simple, but it can be complex for those who want to take it there. So that's why I kept it like that. There are some of you who will take it very far and paint something extravagant, and there's some who will keep it simple and paint little ice creatures. So the challenge is the holiday season design challenge is now live. We will have another creature design challenge with something for the holiday winter season. The creature design challenge prompt is ice, snow, and all the main translucent winter elements like flying snow or icy, like frosty, crystallized snow, ice surface, and all the other winter elements, but as a creature. The creature itself can be in any form as long as it's made of these elements, so as long as it's made of ice. It can be small fantastical creatures, floating creatures, colossal titans, such as ice dragons or giant golems, and or more in the realm of realistic animals, such as an ice snake or a big cat made of ice. You may also add your creature to its environment and submit a full illustration. So it's free reign in that you can do a single character design, you can do a simple character design, you can do an advanced character design, or you can do an advanced character design with an illustration background, or you can do a simple character with an illustration background. So it's all up to you. There's no requirements except that it's 0 humanoids, 0 characters. So no bodies, no arms, legs, or anything like that. No characters, no ice queens with a flowing ice dress and ice boobs. All right, none of that. I'm looking for subsurface scattering, thorough texture research and rendering, planning, thumbnails, and any references or inspiration you find along your journey. All must be handed in together December 17th, 2020. So that'll be the last day I do critique hour in 2020, because after the 17th, on the 20th, I take off for December for the holidays until the 31st, which is going to be the 5th. So from the 17th to the 5th, from the 18th to the 4th, there are no classes. The first class of 2021 is the 5th Tuesday. All right. So that's what we do every single year. It's been years now. And I cannot wait to see what you guys design. It can also be Christmassy, so I'll probably amend this as I go. We have a lot of time left. It can be a Christmassy design. It can be a Christmassy creature. If you want to paint a reindeer, go ahead. It doesn't always have to be festive, every challenge we have, but it does have to be responsive to the, the change of the seasons. I love that. I love when our art is when the world inspires our life affects art type deal. So I think that's really fun. It's lots of inspiration. It's a well of inspiration, the changing of the seasons here in New York. And I think that's it for announcements. So we have a lot of problems with this piece. No ice boobs, oh, come on. So lots of stuff, lots of mistakes. And it's really to do with, well, it's everything is problematic, but it's really to do with bad planning. And I'm not gonna, you know, try to lecture about why planning is good and all that, because I've already told you guys before many times in different classes why planning is amazing and how to plan. And if you watch any critique hour, you'll pretty much catch a blurb of that. And to get a proper education, a lot of people ask me, where do I start? You can literally start anywhere. I even have a playlist as well for the basics or focused critique hours if you want to rush edges or rush anatomy or rush lighting. But if you are serious about your education, Critique Hour is a subscription. Critique Hour is something that you regularly watch. It's not 1 or 2-hour classes and you're just going to get good all of a sudden. No, that's just 2 hours of the 10,000 hours you're supposed to be investing in your development. So to answer those who ask, how many hours should I put in? As many as you fucking can. As many as you can throughout the week, throughout the month. Pour those extra hours you have in. You're going to feel good about yourself. 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day for art. It amounts to a shit ton of hours in a year. And you're that much closer to being a professional. And improvement isn't linear. It's not +1 experience point every time you do an hour. It's exponential. Meaning if you rest after a serious regimen of knowledge, your brain wakes up the next day healed as if the new default is the current knowledge you have. So you're smarter for it. You're smarter to bring in more information, and then your improvement is exponential. It's not linear. We're not single cell organisms, and we are very, very advanced. So give yourself credit for the fact that you'll remember more as you study more. Okay. Like a muscle, exactly. The brain is very much a muscle. So for this piece, I'm going to start from biggest to smallest problem. But before I do, I need to develop my model. So this is Portrait Studio for anyone wondering. For those who have trouble with Portrait Studio, you just, as soon as something happens with Portrait Studio you don't understand or don't know how to fix, the very first thing you do is look at the tutorial we have up. It's an hour tutorial on how to use Portrait Studio. I'll link it in the video. You don't just go straight to a support ticket. You have that option, but don't just jump to a support ticket and cuss at Abu and swear at him and say, you know, fix your fucking program. Don't fucking do that, because you have no right to talk to Abu like that. And anybody who talks to Abu like that gets ignored. If you don't know how to talk to customer service like that, which is just a one-man team right now, you can fuck off. That's 1. 2, if you instantly report a ticket without even trying to find exactly what the problem is, that's your fault. But even if you did rush and be an impatient asshole and send in a ticket and cuss at Abu will still probably reply to you in the beautiful way that he does, because he's a very kind man, and teach you exactly what you did wrong without cussing at you back. So have some decency. I swear to God, if one more person that speaks to Abu in any way outside of respectful, you're getting ignored. You are not replying to your support ticket, period. So go to your support ticket and abutharatlive.com on the website, scroll down. If you can't find it, just send an email to abutharatlive.com and he'll reply to you and probably explain what's happening and what you did wrong and if you didn't figure it out. But I need to put that out there. Nobody talks to Abu like that while I'm alive. Yes, and you users never read the documentation. There's literally a tutorial right here on the help menu. But anyway, we go to add model, we go to figures. I'm going to load the female, and I'm going to rebuild this entire scene. Okay, so, oh, by the way, Abu won't reply rudely to you, but I will. I'll cuss at you as much as you cussed at Abu, and probably worse. Okay, so we have the lighting that's coming from the top, and then we have an arm. It's crazy how people, just because they're a customer, think they can talk that way to people. It's disgusting. And then the arm is kind of holding up a sword. Not kind of, but holding up a sword. And it's really up there. And I feel like it would cast a shadow on the face. So I want to take advantage of that cool design quality of casting a shadow like that. And it'll fall just on the face like that. But that's if the arm is closer. I feel like it would do something. So we can always mess around with light as long as it makes sense. So we've got this whole setup. I'm going to try to fix the angle and show you what you've done wrong with your design. So to hide the hide joints, to hide the so we hid the joints, sorry, to make the most out of this pose, which is a very strong female warrior, we want to bend the head down just a touch so that it looks like she's more on the offensive. And I'm going to just lower the arm down. All right, her wrist is kind of holding the sword like that. You can move the fingers. I don't have time to move each finger. And then the body is probably just shifted. So I'm not going to pose the body. I'm just concerned about the cast shadow. So I'm going to go ahead and take a screenshot. You can take a screenshot. It'll send it straight to the desktop. But if you want to take a specific area, you can just use any program that takes screenshots for you. I use Screenshot. So let's correct these mistakes here. All right. So for the winter challenge, an example of an acceptable creature that fits the prompt would be an ice fox, like the Last Jedi. But a snow creature with humanoid limbs and anatomy doesn't work. Yes, exactly, Jen. Really, really good, good example. I'll probably keep amending it. That's usually what I do. I just keep going back and editing the post. So I'll probably go back and post the picture of the ice foxes, as well as a picture of what not to do. Hopefully I remember to do that. So outside of the Portrait Studio reference and the lighting issue you have this unusual crunched, scrunched face going on. I'm not sure why you did. I know exactly why you did that. I just say I'm not sure. I know exactly why you did that, because you are messing around with the hair and you don't want the hair to cover up the eyes. So you move the eyes out of the way so that everybody has their stage. That's a noob mistake. Painting as if you are trying to accommodate for a camera so that everything gets its time in the light. Really, really, really noob thinking, because you don't need to direct every single aspect of the painting so that everything is visible. You just have to believe that the randomization that comes with a texture is trustworthy. That you don't have to compose, I guess the word is, the randomization, because how do you have controlled hair motion? That's when it looks cheap and gross and low CGI, right? So when you're watching a movie and you see that weird tessellation or see that weird non-naturally random stuff, it looks gross. It looks like garbage, and you can tell it's fake. This is what you guys are doing. You're trying to have controlled randomization. Biggest noob mistake, if there ever was one. You're not allowing the thing that is supposed to be random and uncontrollable to be random and uncontrollable, in that it'll cover the face. And just be graceful about it. Don't try to show every goddamn part of the face, because it's going to look cheap. And you're going to end up with a girl whose entire face sits under her nose. All right, so this automatically looks better. It doesn't look so weird. It definitely looked weird before. It looked uncanny. So when you hear the words weird or off or off-putting, it's just what happens. Instantly, the human reacts to the uncanniness. Uncanny is when you have a well-rendered texture on an unusual proportion or form, meaning a realistic Homer Simpson, let's say. That is unrealistic cartoon proportions, but if you ever Google realistic Homer Simpson, and a fair warning, you know, if you like being spooked, go ahead and Google it. But it's uncanny. That's called the uncanny valley. When you have a deformation or something like that superimposed on a realistic texture. So you painted the skin with realistic values, as realistic as you can pull off. And that led to that uncanniness. So just that mistake alone has moved your painting from like completely different age groups, completely different skill group. All right, so before, after. All right, so I'm gonna just have a little bit more courage with where I'm throwing the hair. And it is unbelievable how common these mistakes are between different students. Excuse me. It's almost like you're all the same person. And so that's why community is so important, because it completely bridges the gap of that loneliness that a student can feel in their development, especially early development. You want to nip that feeling that you're alone, improving alone right in the bud, and explore the idea that your mistakes are not unique to you. It doesn't make you any less special a person. Everyone's different. But it means that, you know, you have the answer somewhere to your trouble. Someone else has gone through it. Next step would be to cast the shadows off the hair, because the hair looks extremely unrealistic when you're not casting shadows. Before I do that, I'm just going to save the image in case Photoshop wants to shit itself today. So, darken layer. Using that purpley tone that you chose. Good job on the tone. Skin tone is a little bit pale or jaundiced, but we'll take care of that later. So, one of the biggest reasons why my hair looks unrealistic is because you guys don't cast shadows for it. So, I'm just using a darken layer. Super nice layer to apply changes without damaging the values underneath. Okay, and I'm just casting these shadows in. Sometimes we don't see the hair, but we see its cast shadow. Write that back to me. All right, and I'm gonna get that skin tone and just brush it on top of the hairline so it doesn't look so cheap like a wig, so it looks like the hair is actually growing there. I'm going to throw in a parting just there. Okay, so we've got other areas that need cast shadows, so I'm going to use darken mode. Okay, so we fixed that weirdness. Let's now fix other problems. You've got this super simplistic crayon blue in the background for some reason. You obviously have zero experience with environments. You're probably giggling at yourself right now watching the critique. Because how did she know? Well, you use the simple crayon blue for a background. That's how it's obvious. It's not in the disservice of your painting to throw in a basic background, as long as your lighting supports it. You don't have to have these crazy, unbelievable, unrealistic values eating up your illustration, because it's a red-haired girl and you're using a blue background. Orange versus blue, yeah, it's bringing out the color of her hair, but it's not necessarily helping your illustration. So please be careful with these crayon colors. They're not for your benefit. They'll actually destroy your painting. Subtlety is key. When you become more advanced and you learn more and you get better and you get good, you're going to realize subtlety was what I was missing. I was so overboard all the time. I didn't even understand subtlety. So 30, let me see what 50 does. I just want to close that blue gap. Okay. So you could easily also go back, now that I'm at 50, and place in a brighter background. It just depends on what you want to do with the scene. Is it a divine scene? Do you want the orange of her hair to glow? Or is it a bit of a darker warrior scene, I guess, and you want things to be a little bit more dramatic, more cinematic. And cinematic can also be divine. It's not to say it's one or the other. But darker is usually the trend in cinema nowadays. In good storytelling, we usually have very dark scenes, and we reserve those light scenes for those divine moments of revelation. So I'm just going to darken some parts of the painting. Select inverse, new layer. I'm going to start darkening what's not important. So things at the edge of the canvas, things at the lower, by the way, what the hell is with that tile canvas? Like, oh my God. Anyway, you have a square canvas. It's not, it's created for your destruction. A square canvas is like the devil. It's never going to be your friend. It's always going to be there for your demise. Okay, so I've darkened things around to help merge the object into its environment. And then now I'm going to, I'm going to just start correcting some of the issues you have here. So I'm going to go for a full change. I'm going to really try to push this critique. So this arm, as we can see, is in front of the head. And so casting a shadow will really, really help. So let me render the arm first, which isn't going to be too difficult since I know what a cylinder is. And if you do find rendering an arm a difficult thing to do, you need to start doing your form studies. Okay. I'm going to use radial shading here to my advantage, using the feathered end of my soft brush. I want it to look like she's got pantyhose on now. So I'm going to bring in the same soft brush and just show how the bone takes over the mesh underneath, and then enlarging my brush the closer I get to the fattier pockets. And then using the environment blue for the lower part of the arm, and then bringing in a hotter red. And then we've got some bounce light on the far part of the arm. The arm shape is also a little bit challenged. I'm not sure. And I'm going to get the white as well. And that white goes on the skin to make the skin look realistic in one final flow. If you want to add in the blush, you can put it on those fattier sections. It's not really blush, it's just the redness of skin. I'm not going to make it too red or too saturated. So under that arm, we have a cast shadow. A cast shadow, again, can be a very simplified gray, cool color. It can be just a black, and we just mess around with the soft brush until it makes sense. So we look at our reference, the cast shadow can do a lot of things. It can do this. So as if the light was a little bit closer, and look how cool that looks. So yeah, it can do something like this. A little bit of a relief up here, and then it's mostly on the face, which I think is nice. I'd probably choose this one. Or you can do one where it's just under the arm and the rest of the face is visible. That looks cheaply. I wouldn't pick that one. Okay, so now we know what part of the hair actually gets the cast shadow, actually gets highlight. So filter, blur, Gaussian blur, as we always do for cast shadows. And then you can change the shade. You can change it, so you can lock the layer and just have fun. You can go for that blue. You can go for something a little bit more purple. It's really up to you. I think the purple is actually working, but we now have a cast shadow. That's helping the scene along. And it doesn't have to be a sharp one. All right, and these little guys here could just be emerging from the cast shadow ever so slightly. Okay, so now this darkening of the background is still not the exact amount I'm envisioning. I'm envisioning something very dramatic. Okay. I'm envisioning like a lot of the black. Let me change that down to 14. Nice. Okay. So we're darkening, which is very, very beautiful when we get that color. And then I'm pushing it towards that purple and then desaturating that purple a little bit. So that really does bring out the rest of the colors. Might shift it a little away from purple. I'm just looking at the navigator and seeing what works. Okay, so I mean, you have cast shadows are so amazing that you can just grab that same purple tone and literally just throw a cast shadow anywhere you want, as long as it makes sense. You can throw another cast shadow this way. I mean, it could be something else casting a shadow on her, and it really wouldn't damage your painting. Okay, that's the beauty of cast shadows, is that they are the most forgiving and the most amazing prop to add to your painting that is not actual prop reliance. So I'm sure you've all seen illustrations that are so reliant on the props in the painting. It's just all cool shit. It's just cool swords, cool belts, cool capes, cool this, cool that. It's nothing of substance. It's not a good cast shadow. It's not strong core shadows. It's not balanced colors. It's just cool stuff, which is cheap. It's not, I don't think it's illustration, because you're not world building. You're just texture studies and combining them together, and then sometimes not even in the same light temperature. Okay, so for the sword, I'm thinking of a nice sheen for the sword. So I'm going to get that white and just think about where the light belt is on that sword. And then for the rest of the painting, I'm going to bring in that background color, and I'm going to start pushing the objects back into the background using the feathered end of my brush and radially stacking the values together. So I don't want the arm to read as if it's outside of the illustration. You can see how I did the same thing with the hand, the distant hand. And I'm deciding on what part of the hair is in the back, and then feathering that into the distance as well. So this is one lighting scenario you could have picked. You have many to pick from, as long as you do the research and are capable of wrapping your head around that much. But I think anyone can, you know, approach any kind of time of day in an illustration as long as they're thinking about it right. So I'm limiting where the sheen is on this because it is too shiny. It's like a shiny as a focal point is, but just without the justification of a focal point, which is just noob shiny. So when I say noob, it should be like, should be a really funny like moment of humility for all of us. Like definitely one for me. I remember being a noob. And I remember these really immature, high entertainment, high glamour, really, really proud choices I made as a noob. And most of my mistakes didn't come from lack of knowledge. They came from a pride problem. So when I see noobs and their pride and all of that, it just reminds me of myself when I was younger. And this, you know, I can do no wrong attitude that all kids have, and it's acceptable. It mostly had to do with being a teenager as well, because my noob years were teenage years, where some others might have them in their 20s, and it's different and a different problem there. But most of it comes from a pride problem. And teenagers, God knows, have tons of pride. So if pride is standing in the way between you and a form study, you and getting outside of that noob, getting ahead of that noob problem that every artist goes through, you know, then just wear it. Be used to call yourself a noob. Be aware of the possibility that, you know, you're damaging your own education. I say it with so much love when I call you guys noobs. I just say it with so much love. Like it's like a pet name I have for you guys. It's not even you know, aggressive or anything. It's the best way to refer to you guys, in my opinion. Because you guys make a lot of noob mistakes. You guys are just like one collective force for me. Alright, so I'm just like messing around with adding some more of those little sections. Maybe the other side needs that, and this side needs a highlighter. Okay, so then as I said earlier, I'm going to grab the pure white, as I used it everywhere here. By the way, we would not be able to see both breasts. You've really forced the breasts into our waking day. We would not see both, and I'll get to that. But I'm using that white on all of the skin, using a desaturated white value. So, oopsie, I've been using flux. I forgot to turn it off. I don't know if it's made any difference to my rendering. It's not. The colors are still fine. But it's a little bit more cool. But did you guys see me turn flux off? That's cleavage. Did you guys see me turn the light filter off? I'm just curious. Does it show up on the stream or does it not? No, you didn't see it. I'm a noob since the day I decided I'm doing stuff out of my comfort zone. I guess it was like 2 hours ago. So you guys didn't see me turn the flux filter off? Okay, cool. So you guys are at this level here with your with what colors you were seeing the whole time. And that's fine. So I'm just correcting some of this lasso. Okay. So the skin tone that I'm using, this pure white, I'm using it for a reason. Because its skin has a reflective nature to it, so it will reflect the pure white nearby as much as a piece of glass does. It's just not going to reflect all the white. Okay, so objects sit on a spectrum of texture, meaning the object at the very end is the brightest, most reflective, wettest thing that could ever be, the smoothest thing, and then on the other end is the roughest, least reflective, most textured thing that could ever be. Skin sits closer to the more reflective thing than the more rough thing. Yet you guys paint skin like it can contain color the way suede curtain can, or suede fabric can. No, it's translucent, it's oily, it's reflective. Skin is closer to the reflective realm than it is to the textured realm. Write that back. So I'm going to fix the nose a little bit. I'm going to make the eyes focused on one thing instead of spaced out. I'm going to fix the mouth. Excuse me. And I'm going to enforce the sphere, the cylinder on the mouth in 3/4 view so it actually looks like a mouth. I'm going to put in my own unique, so this is me, this is my work. I'm going to put in like an angry little mouth gesture. I'm going to show more nostril since I feel like that's important for beauty. And again, I'm just going to keep trying to enforce some kind of expression, which I feel like may be appropriate to her. Right. But to continue the same thought, the light is coming from the side, so I'm going to get that same purple and I'm going to start applying the shadow in that area. And this is a hybrid. And by the way, on that topic, a lot of you think that the only way to become my students in private classes is to draw realistically like I do. That's not true. I've taken on a lot of artists who venture into the hybrid anime realm. I've taught them how to balance anime with realism and how to make anime realistic. It's actually one of my favorite topics to teach because it's fun. You know, in the same luring way that anime is fun, except it comes with all the beauty that is, you know, me as a drill sergeant in class. So, you know, putting that out there, I only avoid it when it comes to noobs. Like, you just popped into digital and you're looking at anime stencils to feel better about your art. So that is where I step in and say, God, no. Do some form studies, do some, you know, basic fundamental anatomy studies, and then you can decide on a style that is particularly appealing to you, style that you can't seem to shake off the desire to pursue, you know, something like that. But realistic anime is a very fun topic and one of the more popular things to pursue today, especially for those who want to I'm going to turn that off for a sec. You know, if you're looking for a fan base. All right, so it's something I'm going to do is I'm going to just include and enforce a squint in the eyes, which I feel like could help the expression. And I'm going to put in some makeup. I'm going to open up her eyes a little bit. She looks like she's got these really sleepy, just woke up, daylight savings eyes. All right. I'm going to just open them up a little bit to show some of her intensity as a swordsman. It's not all glamour and filters. All right. When you wield a blade, how can I make this rhyme without being cringy? Anyone have any suggestions? When you wield a blade, you know, no, that's cringy. I can't do it. All right, so I'm intensifying the eyes, which is really gonna help feeling that she's earned some respect from the viewer and not just a pampered up anime cleavage lady. Okay. You can't be swayed? You get laid? I don't know. There you go. You ain't worried about getting late, okay? You're worried about getting better. So you've earned yourself some... It's too late. The cringe has sailed. Okay, and so I'm going to bring in some of that white in the eyes. The light would really help. Again, it's just the pure white. Can anyone explain why I'm using the pure white? Far eye might not get any. And this eye kind of breaches that. And then you guys always fucking forget the inner light illuminator. Unless this artist had it and I just erased it. But yeah, you guys still fucking forget it a lot. Yes, and I just did censor myself. It's a skill. Bring in the pink of the eyes. And the pink of the inner eye. And I'm just going to smudge a little bit this way. You guys always forget that the eyeball is three-dimensional and the pink of the eye wraps around the eyeball. So your three-quarter views always look really, really funny because it just looks like an ironed down eyeball, which doesn't make any sense at all. Alright, and then this eye is not necessarily a three-quarter view eye. It needs to be pushed over. And this eye needs to open up. Which makes, and if we bring the eye socket closer to the eye, it makes the eye feel more opened, obviously, because the eyelids are opened, getting closer and closing that upper eyelid space so that you have a feeling like you've opened the eye and this intensity, this focus, right? Please stop talking. 7 Sword, you can't ask me to commission you on my stream. When is the next after hours? Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern. When you wield a blade, you seize the path and the way. The more I learn, the more I use value, and I find a lot of explanations. Compound knowledge is insane. Why does one eye look bigger than the other? Who knows? All right. So remember on Portrait Studio when I tilted the head down? So that's something that we need to apply, or at least give ourselves the option for. One thing you want to remember is to blur the cheeks. Blurred cheeks make it easier and less awkward and edge, because the human head and the human skin is not the same. Again, it's not on the part of the spectrum that's closer to rocks. No, we are not golems. We're not made of rock. We are closer to the soft, smooth side of the spectrum of texture. So that means that the edge of our faces should not be these really, really weird edges. Sharp, lasso, jittery, sharp. Okay. I'm also going to blur objects in the distance for not texture related reasons, but for depth related reasons. Why do I blur objects in the distance? Can anyone explain? It's not an intense blur. It's just a movement, a step away from sharpness in the foreground, so that there's a difference between this edge and this edge. This edge is sharper, this edge is blurry. That's because there's distance in between them. One is closer, one is farther away. One is easy to see, one is not so easy to see. I will slightly blur the skin, though, for the reasons I mentioned earlier. Alright, and this needs to get darkened down as well. And smudged. So the darkness isn't as dark as I want it. The background isn't as black as I need it to be. Things are still in transition, and so you know you have to never go as black as you want to go right away, because again, it's not a an immediate change. It's something that you have to introduce to all the colors so that you can figure it out a lot easier. So this side of the shirt is far too close in brightness to this side. So this side of the cube is too bright, even though it's facing away from the light. It makes no sense. Let's fix it. We're going to grab more of the background value. Choosing colors and having color harmony is not hard. I'm literally just choosing background value here. That is all that I'm doing. I'm okay with the inside of the shirt, but I'm not okay with the fact that there's no cast shadow to the head on the back of the shirt. I'll select this, go back and paste. And just try to show a little bit of transition there. I'm not gonna let the sword get that bright. Just again, it's just because it's a sword doesn't mean it breaks the rules of the focal point. But rendering the sword shouldn't be too hard, since it's got a cleft surface right in the center. It's got like a change in the surface. One part sticks out further than the other part. So only one part needs to be darkened and one part needs to be brightened. And that's all the magic that is a fucking samurai sword. That's it. And then, so that's done. I'm gonna get the background value and just start brushing that blue over everything. because now I know how dark I want to go. So merge that down. And then get that white where the hair breaches. Just look at this. I'm using white and background value. Who knew using values around and using the light source would make for realistic lighting? Who knew? Well, slap me in the butt and call me Susie. Who knew? Don't call me Susie. Do not slap me in the butt, please. Who knew using background value would make so much sense? Who knew using the white of the light source on every object would unite the painting? All right. So can anybody properly, without asking people to slap their butt, find a more intelligent way of describing the fundamental I'm trying to explain? Can anyone put it into words? You just joined the stream. Oh no, huh? Look at us. Look at us. I wonder if having a Cintiq is needed for serious work. No, it's not. So, what did I ask? When you say the eye and skin reflect white, is that assuming the light source is pure white? Always assume the light source is pure white. You're never going to paint with a yellow light source. Nothing is that jaundiced. You can choose a slightly yellow white. You're not going to paint with a blue light. That's ambient light. You can do whatever you want with ambient light when you're done with your main light source. Yes, you assume all light source is universal, yellowish. Now I'm even scared to say yellow because a student will just straight up pick a crayon yellow. Just assume it's white. It's better for your painting. A subject in a painting, in order to feel integrated into its environment, should share the light from the environment. It will be affected by the color of the light source. Yes, and we're using the color of the background on the shadows and the color of the light source on everything. I put it on everything. Nothing was spared. We still got ways to go. All right, so I'm just doing my own things now. I'm kind of using the red of the hair on the skin a little bit. I'm going to correct the levels ever so slightly because I do not want to mess with the background lasso ever again. Just darkening. So that's all I did with the levels. Just dropped it slightly. I think I undid it with lifting my mouse. Yeah. Son of a bitch. All right, 2. So before, after, I just dropped the levels. I'm going to choose a darker background value. I might sneak it into multiply just because I'm trying to hurry it up with darkening. And because soft brush affects things more than it reveals to me, I'm going to, actually before that, I just noticed the arm needs a darkening on this lower part. Excuse me, I ate really fast before class. Yep. Okay, so I'm gonna blend that out. Okie dokie. So I'm gonna, again, because soft brush has this very, very wide range, soft brush moves out wider than you think it does. So where are my level changes? Right here. I'm going to delete at the edge of the cast shadow and try to allow more light in. Even deleting the level drop. Okay. And then we've got framing changes. Darkness at the top of the painting. No reason why you need light at the very top. And darkness on the side. No reason why an empty corner needs all that much light. So that we literally only have light where we need it. Arm looks a little bit long. You really have a lot of mistakes you're making here. And then I'm going to double the layer, merge this down actually first, duplicate the layer. Gonna get dodge tool on midtones, which lightens across a white, not a the way on highlights it does. And I'm going to try to make the hair a little more shiny. It may not be worth it. Who knows? Let me use my brush to kind of salvage. Some of that shine. Okay. You see how having the hairline makes more sense. Because it makes it feel like the hair is growing. I'm going to try to show the shape of the cast shadow on the nose. Again, it's a soft shadow, so it really doesn't matter. It's inconsequential. And one thing that you could do that's really cool is you can show the sheen of the sword on the eyes. And that is very simple to do. You just make a sharp shape reflected in the eyes. You apply it with a soft brush and erase with a hard brush. And it's not that simple because, especially on an anime template, sometimes it doesn't look like a reflection of something in the eye. It'll look like anime eye. It'll look like a reflection of something if you were painting a realistic eye. That's something I always put in my painting. But we're going to apply it anyway, and just whatever happens, happens. It's really generalized look. The other eye is kind of lazy. I'm just trying to make them both the same size. Remember how I opened them? Okay. And then you could, if you wanted to, start bringing in that sweat or glisten that eyes have, or if the face has, you know, in the middle of battle. I'm going to use the same red in the hair on the lips to unify palette. Nice little trick you guys should remember. And the same hair color in the blush of the face. If you were in makeup, you'd know that that's what you do. You choose a blush that matches your skin and hair. As for the cleavage of death, the cleavage needs to be proportionate to her chest. This is her neckline. This is her symmetry line. So it would just be here. All right. Her torso is tilting. So let me draw it out for you in case you're arguing with me in your head. This is her torso, right? This is her shoulder. This is her other shoulder, arm. Look where you put the boobs. You put the boobs attached to her shoulder. She's got a shoulder, and then she's got a set of boobs on the one side of her. So let's allow this girl to have a normal, healthy body. Yes, one arm up will throw one boob over. Boobs don't like to stay in place. But if this is a pinup and boobs are required for pinup, fix the shirt. Jesus Christ, you can change the shirt. You don't have to make her deformed. You could help the poor girl out and just change her shirt a little bit. What's so hard about that? Okay. So that means I have to select another thing. So I'm going to select this whole thing. Maybe this thing too. And the arm. So this will be a little tricky. I like the design you have on her kimono thing. So I'm going to enlarge and place them where they're supposed to be along the symmetry line. And now we've got boobs that are where they're supposed to. I'll fix the third boob she's got over there. So is the artist with us today? They probably have no idea I'm critiquing their work. So there's a small shadow just there. And I'm just trying to fix the ribbon so we have a complete before and after. Once in a while I'll do these full renderings, you know, because it's fun, it's something nice, it's a little bit more glamorous, the job. And it's, you know, it gives us something to talk about. Plus it's nicer for those clips to have full pieces instead of little cutouts, form study section or something. Okay, so we've got one little area left that's not making any sense, which is up here. I keep repainting that piece of hair. Okay, and then I'm fixing this shoulder, this boob. So everyone had a problem with where you put the boob. And you seem to have, you particularly this artist, seem to be living in a bubble, because if you had been getting critiques from honest critiques, not compliment critiques, not circle jerk critiques, if you had been getting real critiques, somebody would have told you that face is way too goddamn low, you know? So good thing you joined the community. Props on you. But, you know, you've been in a very, very small bubble as of late. I hope you're working towards getting a better community, changing those around, changing who's around you that's, you know, not giving you these decent critiques, or not critiquing you, but just complimenting you, which is not acceptable ever if you want to be taken seriously in your gallery. Right, and then we've got the neck, which is way too thick for a girl. You're making it seem like her neck is also deformed. She can be sporty with a more sporty neck, but take it easy with the detail in that area. Oopsie. Because it's not a muscular testosterone neck. It's a female neck. It's fatty and jiggly, and will eventually be two necks one day. Two chins, sorry. Right, so shoulder, collarbones are very easy. You just think about where the light source is and cast a shadow under them. So a collarbone is just shadows. So don't outline a collarbone. It's just the cylinder and the cast shadow. Ya noobs. Learn your cylinders, ya noobs. I'm just using the white, and then more shine on the boobs, and then that plumpiness of the boobs that you need to add in. So I'll probably do a new layer. If you ever try to paint boobs without a soft brush, you're gonna have a bad time. All right, and so that boob is kind of perking upward, not allowing that shadow to be soft. Oops. Lots of missing cast shadows, tons. Cast shadow of the cloth is also missing. So it's sharper the closer we get. I'm going to just darken it and saturate it and push it to purples. Okay, so it's darker, sharper the closer. Really don't worry about it being soft, because we can always use blur. And it's just widens the further it gets, and gets closer the closer it gets to the boob. And then filter, liquefy. I'm just going to drag it forward along the boob area, just because it's bending down with the boob. And then filter, blur, Gaussian blur, put it down to 0. Okay. That other breast looks really weird still to me. So I'm going to make a new layer and then just let the light kind of take over that area, because it really is just light. That boob hasn't been in the shadow long enough. And then just give it that edge. Just clean values sometimes make all the difference. I think the bottom would get a bit of shadow though. And I'm using my layers to my advantage. Okay, and then finally I'm going, I mean, maybe not finally because I might see something else. When I do, it feels like you could have shown the inside of the sleeve, which is very simple. Just choose one of those basic NPC values that don't really matter. Use it on the inside of the sleeve and then darken it. And now you have a more logical sleeve. You could throw a little bit of highlight on the inside. It seems like you're forcing us to see the side of the sleeve because you don't know how to paint it. Just think three-dimensionally. If you're having trouble thinking three-dimensionally, start doing form studies. And then again, I have to mess with this arm one more time. I feel like the inside of that sleeve could be darker, but I don't care because it's in the edge of the canvas. I don't want to give it any more contrast. So, blurring. So filter, blur the whole thing. All right. Now we're doing a lens blur. Not a depth blur, not a texture blur. We've seen 3 different types of blurs today. Can anyone explain them all? So this one is for the fact that we want to keep the face the focal point. Looks like the boob's kind of fucked up again. Oopsie. Could be just a bit lower now that I zoomed out. Okay, so can anyone explain the 3 different types of blurs we've seen and why they are important? While I wait for the answer, please go out and vote. Do not be one of those people that leaves this to chance. Your vote matters. The turnout for voting is record-breaking. And don't say, oh, people are voting out there. No, don't you dare say that. I don't need to vote because everybody else is. We voted in this family. You're going to vote too because it's your right to vote. This guy in the administration right now, his administration is a monster. He is trying to win by cheating. He's trying to win by creating and setting up a scenario where he complained long enough about fraud in the democracy that he can sue based off the fact that he was cheated out of his victory. He's trying to make it so that he can, this person that he just swore into the Supreme Court, he's trying to sue, and he's trying to win because he knows that the conservative vote is now a majority in the Supreme Court. Basically, he's rigged the system, he's rigged the referees so that they vote for him. He's rigged the game and paid the referees so that they vote for his victory. So that is obviously an offense against all justice, all human rights. He's basically making it so that our votes don't count in this democracy, which it is, whether capitalists like it or not. This is a democracy. Whether those billionaires like it or not, this is an absolute democracy. So we need to vote this scumbag out of office ASAP. This means your vote does count. You are listening. Another person is listening who just heard this, and another, and thousands of others, 1,000 others will hear it. And we'll get thousands more votes in the direction that it needs to go, in the direction they need to go. So your vote doesn't not count. It counts. Absolutely it does. Go vote and vote against Trump. I care about Trump. He matters to me in the way that Sauron mattered to Frodo, okay? So please go out and vote, and let's end this madness. Let's just pretend 2020 didn't happen. Let's just pretend. Let's just wake up in January and just be like, oh, what a bad dream. Oh, okay, well, guess life's back to normal now. All right, let's do that collectively, hand in hand. If you trust me here with the fundamentals, you trust me with the knowledge of the fundamentals, you trust me with, as your teacher, I have a position in your mind. You hear my voice when you're working, when you're critiquing yourself, when you're painting. A lot of people say, I hear Istebrak talking to me. That means you trust me. You've allowed me in your brain. And so I would not say something that I feel like is offensive to your identity. I would not feel like it is something that will damage your thinking as a student. I only bring up the important stuff during critique hour because I want to maintain that respect from you guys. So you should trust me when I tell you this is not a good man. He's got all the bad traits on him. And only really sad, confused, lonely people are coming together in this collective force to act like he's their secret champion, he's their savior. He's not. He doesn't give a rat's ass about you. He grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth. That means he grew up rich. He doesn't understand bills. He doesn't understand struggling. He doesn't understand saving up for a tablet. He doesn't understand worrying about medical bills. He doesn't know what it means to have chest pain and be too scared to go to the doctor because he'll be given a $3,000 bill. He doesn't understand any of that. He's not in this same world. He's not in this universe. He's not from it. He's alien to our kind of suffering. The guy on the other side of the guy that's running against him, Joe Biden, is actually closer to understanding our struggles, our personal struggles, than Trump is. So please fucking vote. Please go and vote. Please vote. And please do not vote for Trump. I am actually asking you, do not vote for Trump. The victory last time was a mistake, and this is the most important election of our lifetime. Please go vote. All right? All right. Yes, these 4 years have been an eternity. Please don't give him 4 more. So what I did in the meantime is I fixed the breast, I added some more shine, and let's see what everyone says. This is how I use blur. Motion blur for motion, Gaussian blur for textures, and lens blur for focus. Gaussian blur for textures. Let's see what else. Lens blur happens because cameras have a thing called circle of confusion that prevents light from focusing on an infinite range. Excellent. Lens blur, blurring the camera view to maintain the focal point. Vote early if you can, everyone. Smaller crowds are safer. Yes, please vote early. To next, said Istebrak as she wiped her eyes. Depth blur, blurring the background to show distance from the foreground. Excellent. And what was the third type? So we did a texture blur as well. Can anyone explain a texture blur? I suspect there will be other viruses too unless humanity masters vaccine development. They would if this... Another thing Trump did is he's trying to make it so that he can fire the people in the FDA who are the ones who make the final decision on whether or not a vaccine is safe. He's trying to fire the people that worry about whether or not the vaccine will kill you. Because to release a vaccine within the next couple of weeks will make it so that he's elected as if he fixed the coronavirus that he pretty much allowed to run rampant through the country because of his negligence. He's trying to fire Fauci as well, the only guy on your side right now. The only guy who gives a shit whether or not you live or die. The only one who stays up, I assume he just stays up at night thinking about all the people dying right now and how easy it is to just stop it all. I wish us luck. I wish us luck in the next couple of weeks. This next week is going to be a really rough and scary week, but let us just try to stay hopeful. So, can anyone explain texture blur before I show you the before and after, the awaited before and after. And everything was done with your supervision. Everything was done with you guys present in the critique. You guys did not see me use a wand and just hocus pocus this painting into what it is right now. You saw every fundamental and its effect on the illustration. All right, so I'm just doing a little bit more framing just to help with the focal point. Texture blur is for things that are more organic and don't have a super sharp edge. Excellent, that's it. Texture blur prevents them from popping and causing too much visual noise. Excellent, because they are on the softer side. Because skin, I mean, as long as your hands are washed, please don't touch your face if you haven't washed your hands in the last 10 minutes. But touch your face, that's extremely soft. That changes what you do with your brush. Touch a bottle, touch your mouse, touch your pen, that's a completely different texture. Touch your tablet, that's a completely, I can't make this noise with if I scratch my cheek. It's a very muffled noise. That means the texture is different. Give your cheek a slap for making all these fundamental mistakes. You can see that it's not the same kind of texture. So why would you use the same sharp edge as you would for a tablet, as you would for a cheek? Obviously, one must be less of a sharp edge, and the only way to do that is to use the blur tool on Photoshop. How can she slap? All right, so let's take a look at this before and after. Drum roll, please. Before. Flat face. Why? Because you just wanted the face to show, and you wanted the hair to show, and you wanted to give everything its own stage. And then that background, which is probably a placeholder, but this is, of all the placeholders to use this aggressive blue that actually does not help the illustration. I don't believe in placeholder excuse after. Okay, I don't believe in placeholder. That was just a placeholder, teacher. That wasn't my final decision. I was just putting that there. Why did you put it there? The first question of an illustration is, what's my light environment? That you're just telling me you didn't answer your light environment question. Oh, you did answer your light environment and you think this is a functional blue. Wrong on both counts. There's no way out, little mouse. You're wrong. Never use placeholder values. They don't help you. They don't. What the hell are they for? Are they part of the light environment? Did they respond to the light source? Are they going to help the drama of the scene? Are they going to push the narrative? No. So stop using placeholder values. Your face feels like tissue sandpaper. You need to see a dermatologist. Windows 7 blue of death. Yeah. Before we fix the face, we fix the mouth. Oops. The mouth has more of a cylindrical volume. Fix the nose. They allowed the eyes to sit romantically over the under the hair. What's wrong with that? We fix the light environment. We use the shadow of the background on the skin. We use the white of the light source on the skin. Look at us. Who knew? Who knew that's the way to make everything unified in an illustration? Who knew? All right. So lots of changes and lots of fundamentals. But that's it for class today. I hope you guys had fun. This Thursday is the Halloween Design Challenge due date. We're going to see some really, really fun stuff. So to join challenges, go to istebrak.com and click the Reddit icon. And let's scroll really, really quickly to see some of these challenge submissions. Look at that. A leaf ember elemental character. Beautiful. Little apple candy apple kodamas. I still haven't figured out what this is. Eyeball egg onion monster. Okay, there's more down there. That ember one. I love this. This one's so cute. Remember, it's got to have some creepiness to it, so you might want to give it some sharp, angry eyes. But I'll talk about that in class. This is where I picked today's piece. The Reddit is where... Hey, Istebrak. Oh, yeah, Istebrak. How do I get you to critique my stuff? Well, just go to Reddit. Okay, click on the Reddit icon. Go here and submit. That's how you get your stuff in my videos. Okay, thanks. All right, and then we have this adorable moonlight, I don't know, like moonlight leaf. That's so cute. I think this is another pumpkin creature. I like this one. I might mess with this one a lot. I'm so tempted to do environments again. I might push into environments after this, just so that we have some fun with environments. But character design has been a nice shift in class. This one is hella cool. You were allowed to do humanoids for this one. You were not allowed to do humanoids for the design challenge for the winter season. So on the Reddit right here, holiday design challenge, paint crystalline creatures. So like the little ice foxes from Star Wars, as someone mentioned earlier. I'll be amending this with some reference and inspiration images, but this is where you can go to see I just posted it today, and you can go there to see it. Thank you everyone for coming. If you learned something from today's class and you want to support, you can always support me on Patreon. Even if you join as $1 patron, it still goes a long way to helping, and if we all pitch in $1, it really does help support the class and keep it running for a long time. For all you active users on Reddit, if you join as a watcher, it would mean a lot. Thank you so much for those who have answered the call and joined. Again, go to Reddit to submit your work. Follow me on Instagram to see some of my personal work as I post it. But that's it really. Thank you everyone for coming. I'll see you guys on Thursday for the Halloween design challenge. Bye guys.